The story starts in a Murim world, where our protagonist explains what happened to the world. He says that it was invaded by demons 249 years ago. One peaceful day, when people in the market were doing their business, a huge dimensional gate opened in the sky. Then they descended, the ones who would be called demons in the future. After descending, they declared that they were invading mankind. That marked the invasion of demons. Realizing how dire the situation was, the Orthodox Alliance formed the Heaven Demon Extermination Corps and declared that they would be subjugating demons. 3 days later, they ran into the Demon Corps in Manhwa. When they fought against the Demon Corps, the Orthodox Alliance were wiped out. 1 year later, every martial arts master, both orthodox and unorthodox, worked together to form the last line of resistance against demons in Sichuan. However, in that 1 year, half of the people in Central Plains were slaughtered. The battle lasted for half a month, and 90% of the resistance army members were exterminated, and Central Plains was officially wiped out. After this, the surviving people were enslaved and dragged to Demon Realm. Then we are shown about our protagonist, who was also among the people who were enslaved by the demons. After 5 years of inhumane experiments, our protagonist, who was unable to use inner energy from birth, was able to use inner energy. He was categorized as a rare species. Through various experiments and brainwashing, he became a part of Demon Subjugation Army. After that, decades passed. He participated in invasions of many dimensions and carried out slaughter. He thinks he killed more and more living beings. After 75 years, he became a slave soldier. And after 120 years later, he was recognized for his contributions and was promoted as a commander among demons. After that, he tried to find out the conditions and methods to manifest an unknown powerful being. After 65 years, he started the rebellion he had meticulously planned. 1 week after the rebellion started, at present, our protagonist is seriously injured and his comrades, who assisted him in this rebellion, was also killed. And ultimately the rebellion failed. The Demon King Tarant looks at our protagonist, who was kneeling in front of him with a soul-piercing gaze, and says, "What a disappointment," and asks our protagonist, "Why have you risked all the contributions you have accumulated just for a rebellion of this level?" and calls him by a name, Schwitz von Grentel. However, after hearing this name, our protagonist gets angry and says that it is not his name and his name is Sa Bigang. After hearing this, the Demon Lord says that he really don't understand. Even though he have observed humans like our protagonist all the time, he says that even though the abilities and talents you possess are miserly, you always had a tenacious obsession with survive regardless of the situation. That's your only strength. But why have you decided to act so recklessly after all this time? Our protagonist replies that it's because he had to experience fighting him at least for once, and it is necessary in order to gain definite victory the next time we fights. And he had no choice but to fight him at least once. The Demon King Tarant replies that even though it sounds pretty interesting, but it's also a foolish way of thinking. He says, "Do you think I will give you a second chance?" He says that you will die here today. After hearing this, our protagonist replies that he will not be killed by him, and pierces his own heart and kills himself. After doing this, an ancient magical array activates and it shoots downwards to hit our protagonist. After this, the protagonist is taken by the magical array. The Demon King was both surprised and amused by the situation. He says, "Time regression. The authority of Neuzerin, an ancient evil being." Demon King says that now he seemed to understand the reason why our protagonist endured his defeat and humiliation quietly for 2,000 years. Demon King asks, "Was this all for this day?" After hearing this, our protagonist with a sadistic smile replies that, "Just you wait and see. Next time we fight around, I will prepare even more thoroughly and beat the shit out of you and all of the demons." And says, "All of you cursed demons will die." After hearing this, the Demon King Tarant was very happy and excited and says, "I look forward to that." He says that you are the only human I have acknowledged. After this, the regression magic activates, and we are shown the Central Plains. And the regression magic takes our protagonist to the past, and it struck a building like a thunder. Its impact creates a large hole on the roof, and after it goes down, it hits our protagonist in the past. After it hits him, all the future memories came into his mind, and he thinks there are 10 years left till the demon invasion. The scene shift towards a martial arts academy called Dragon Spring Academy. Two people was repairing a roof. While working, they chatted with each other. The man was talking about how he can't believe lightning struck out of nowhere. The other man replies that, "Yeah, I was also surprised by this. And it was even powerful enough to destroy the training ground's roof." And he says it is a relief that only that loser got injured. The person at the other end asks, "Loser, who are you talking about?" "Yeah." The person at the other end replies, "The vice instructor, who was an orphan that physician Jin Beek brought back. They say that he was the one who was struck by that lightning a few days back." The other person remembers him and says, the martial arts instructor who can't use inner energy. He says from what he heard, he wasn't injured badly. However, his interlocutor replies that it would be better if he had been injured badly, because today is his public execution. People say it's a duel, however, everybody knows that a person who can't use inner energy will lose in battle against a person who can use inner energy, and the academy is going to take away his instructor title from him. After this, the scenes shift towards an arena, where duel for spear instructor assistant position was going on. The officials of the academy says, "The duel will begin now." After this, we are introduced about the candidates who are participating in this duel. First, by introducing our protagonist as a person who is holding a sphere and his name is Sabai Gang, and secondly introduces the other participant who was recommended for the position of assistant instructor. And his name is Invincible Divine Spear, Maing Sondeok. And the commentator announces that there was a request to verify the abilities of assistant instructor Sabai Gang, and this duel will determine who deserves to be the assistant instructor. After saying this, commentator says that both of them should fight with their honor as a martial artist on the line. The opponent, Divine Sphere, Maing Sondeok, says to our protagonist that he seems to be more better than he expected, and says that from what he had heard, our protagonist was struck by lightning out of nowhere, and he mocks him by saying that he thought our MC was making up some excuses to avoid fighting him, and says, since our protagonist appeared, he will put an end to this battle quickly or he could just surrender. Then our protagonist says in a mysterious tone that, in the very far future, there was an instructor of a certain martial arts academy who couldn't use inner energy, unfortunately. That was because he was born with this trait. But it can't be helped, and he was naturally looked down on by others. He says that in the end, the incompetent instructor, who was known as the Shame of Martial Academy, suffered a horrible defeat in a public duel. And he got his position stolen from him, and was selected to do menial jobs, and he suffered terribly after. Hearing this, his opponent was kind of surprised and was thinking, what is this madman saying? He asked our protagonist what the hell is he talking about, and without paying any attention to it, our protagonist says that to sum it up, he have long been waiting for this duel. This provoked his opponent, and he curses our protagonist by calling him a bastard, and he threateningly asks, how dare he act so arrogantly? He says that he was going to let him keep his pride as a martial arts instructor. However, because of his arrogance, he changed his mind, and will make him pay the price for it. After saying this, he uses a technique called Bull Demon Spear Art towards our protagonist. After executing the move, when the spear was taken back, he thinks that, when he attack a person with a spear, he was supposed to feel a sensation on the tip of his spear, but when he attacked our protagonist, he didn't feel anything, even though he sensed his move didn't hit our protagonist. Before he could respond, our protagonist is in his backside. However, he tries his best to land a hit on our MC, but he dodged every single move. After seeing this technique, our protagonist says that, even though that looked pretty decent, you need to land it on me for it to make any damage. After the opponent hears this, he was even more enraged, and calls him a bastard, and uses many moves against him. However, our MC dodges every single move very easily. After seeing this, the opponent thinks in despair What happened? How could he dodge his bull demon technique that he have trained for decades so easily? He thinks that he was told our protagonist was weak, and this was totally different from what he heard. Seeing this, our protagonist was very disappointed, and says, how can you teach anyone with those skills of yours? Even though our protagonist's opponent was completely defeated, he thinks, it must have been luck for our MC to dodge his technique. After thinking this, he uses a fast footwork technique and leap towards the sky and aim his weapon at our MC, while saying, die to our protagonist. After seeing this, our MC readies his weapon and uses double spears and spins it and stays in a fighting stance. When the opponent was attacking him, he used a technique called fireball. Seeing this, his opponent was both surprised and unprepared. Because of this, he got blasted away by the force of our protagonist's technique. Seeing the scene, both the audience and officials were scared and surprised. The opponent who got attacked by the fireball skill was on fire and he was going to be fried. The commentator, in a panic and surprised tone, says to the audience that the duel is over and the victor is assistant instructor Sabai Gang. When our MC was basking in glory, his opponent was asking for water because of fire. Our protagonist remembers his future self and says that when he was captured and got dragged into the demon realm, he tried every possible method to survive and realized something very important. While thinking this, he asks to his opponent how his heat yang arts are, and says to the audience that his fire martial arts is known as fireball. He continues his thought by saying that high-level magic is indistinguishable from martial arts. After this, we are shown about the condition of our protagonist opponent. He was burned and lying on the ground, and our MC bids farewell to him by saying that it was a good fight. After seeing this, the crowd was filled with murmurs. Those who looked at our protagonist with disdain was now afraid of him. They talked among themselves and one person asks another, what was that just now? Was that really a martial arts? After hearing this, a third person replies he thinks that he heard our protagonist saying it was called Heat Yang Finger. The three elders who watched the duel had different expressions. One was angry and the other two was shocked. They talked among themselves and one elder says, what kind of nonsense is this? And the second elder was still in shock about what happened. And the third elder was enraged and asked, what kind of nonsense is this? Even though everyone had different opinions, they congratulated our protagonist by saying, congratulations instructor Sa Bigang for winning the duel. The elders says that, you have won the duel. However, they questions him and asks, they thought he couldn't use internal energy. However, after hearing this question, our protagonist replies with a smile, it was a stroke of luck. The elder who heard this was surprised and asks to our protagonist in a confused manner, luck? Our protagonist replies, yes, it was due to luck that he could use internal energy, and explains what happened to him and how he could use internal energy. He says to the elders, a few days ago when he was on a walk, he saw some herb he had never seen before and ate it. After eating it, suddenly he could use internal energy. He says, thankfully because of this encounter, he had internal energy. Before he could talk further, when the Vice Academy Master, who was watching the match, hears this, he became enraged and asks to our protagonist, are you kidding us? And how dare he spout such nonsense to his elders? Are you insulting all of us? He asks. After hearing this, our protagonist replies, it's your choice on whether to believe it or not. Though what does it matter? And the Vice Master who hears this was shocked. Our protagonist questions the elders, did he cheat in the duel, and continues, even though it was a fight for the position of teaching spearsmanship, but there was no rule mentioning to fight only using spears, and he doesn't know why he have to be interrogated like this when he won fair and square. After hearing this, the Vice Master who spoke rudely to our protagonist again became enraged, and the other elders calmed him down. After calming the Vice Master, the second elder says to our protagonist, you are right. You have won this fight. Since you won, you will. Before the second elder could say anything further, our protagonist interrupts saying sorry. He says that since everyone is here, he had a request to make. After hearing this, the second elder was surprised and asks, a request? Our protagonist says, yes, And his request is that he officially request for a test to be promoted to the position of an official instructor. Then the scene shift when our protagonist was taking a walk in the academy after the duel. When everyone sees our protagonist, there was a murmuring among them. They talks about how he is the one from the duel and continues to murmur among themselves. After seeing his strength in the duel, everyone who looked down upon him was very respectful in front of him. Before the duel everyone looked down on him, however after the duel they dare not approach him and respected him. In the next scene, we are introduced about the Dragon Spring Academy. It is one of many martial training halls set up by the Orthodox Alliance. It is done in order to prevent hardship in the Jianghu Murim. He thinks that its purpose is to raise martial artists who will become the pillars of Orthodox Alliance in the future. And they take children between age of 15 to 18 from various sects and clans that are at least decently big to cultivate and nurture them into martial masters. Then we are introduced about the instructors in the academy. They are composed of martial masters from the Orthodox Alliance. And the instructors are divided into assistant instructors and senior instructors. The assistant instructors give more assistance in the children's cultivation than the actual instructor. After explaining about Dragon Martial Academy, our protagonist opened the door to a room. He hears a question, what happened to him? And an old man was looking at our protagonist and he asks, how are you suddenly able to use internal energy, and questions him about, what have you done? Then we are introduced about the person who questioned our protagonist. He is the recovering body pavilion master of the Dragon Spring Academy, or the physician Jin Beck, who takes care of patients in the academy. After hearing the question, our protagonist says that he had already said that it was a stroke of luck. However, hearing this, the old man Jin Beck says to him that he had treated him for a long time and knows that he can't use internal energy. He says that he had tried countless possible methods to treat him. However, his illness was something he couldn't cure, and he thinks that if something like a medicine could treat him, how useless of a physician he is, and starts crying. After seeing this, our protagonist says sorry to him and thinks he hadn't changed a bit and thinks he is someone who is like a parent to me. He tries to remember and says 542 years ago. Then he remembers and says no. I guess it would be 15 years ago from now. He thinks that the physician was the person who ran into the flames to save a dying child amidst a bandit ambush. And he was also the one who ended up losing his own life trying to save others on that day too. Our protagonist thinks that, however, this time he will make sure that he does not die. And says to the physician that he doesn't need to blame himself for this and he doesn't need to worry about it either. After hearing this comforting words, Jim Beek looks at our protagonist and our protagonist says that he will resolve all the problems from now on. Will he be able to keep his words and save the world from the demon invasion? Let's look forward to it. If you enjoyed the video, please support the channel by liking and subscribing.